NFL Daily today is presented by Manscaped. When you go to manscaped.com/chat, right there, bottom of your screen, you'll get 20% off and free shipping on all of Manscaped's fantastic men's grooming products, including the Lawnmower 4.0, which we'll tell you more about later on in today's video. But we're starting with some NFL rumors conversations here, and oh look, it's Aaron Rodgers once again. Now, the Aaron Rodgers trade rumors are not going to be going away anytime soon. Denver Broncos, of course, amongst the team involved there. But there was a report that came out of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel from Tom Silverstein, who says that in the event there was a trade involving Aaron Rodgers, the Packers would want to get back a quarterback. They would want the opposing team's quarterback as part of the trade. And that is very noteworthy and significant, given that they spent a first-round pick on Jordan Love, and in theory, this means they don't think that entering year 2, Jordan Love would be ready to start for them. And that's a bit of a red flag, which we'll get to here in just a second. Now, there are plenty of potential destinations out there. The Denver Broncos could ship either Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater. Las Vegas could move Derek Carr. Washington would probably move Ryan Fitzpatrick in this scenario. The Saints could move Jameis Winston, probably more so than Taysom Hill. The Giants got Daniel Jones. And I think at least in year 1 of a potential move on from Aaron Rodgers, that would help the Packers in their quarterback room, where they have, of course, the MVP Rodgers. Jordan Love is supposed to be quarterback too. He's supposed to be the guy for Green Bay in the not-too-distant future, but, I mean, he wasn't active last year. Like, is he that close to being ready? This report makes me wonder of, actually, maybe not. They signed Blake Bortles. They added Kurt Benkert. Like, without Rodgers, this is one of the worst quarterback rooms in the NFL because we haven't seen Jordan Love do anything so far. I did want to spend some time here on the team most frequently linked to Aaron Rodgers. That is the Denver Broncos, where they've got Drew Lock, they've got Teddy Bridgewater. Both those guys can maybe get a chance to be the quarterback in Green Bay, or at least one of them would, in a hypothetical trade. Maybe it's Lock, but Bridgewater's a pretty decent stopgap there as well. I do think Denver has interest. In fact, I know that they do. It's a matter of, are the Packers going to ever be willing to trade away, at least this offseason, Rodgers? You don't see guys at the quarterback position coming off this caliber of season who end up getting shipped away. It simply does not happen. You do not move on, no matter how old they are. Guys coming off a 48-5 touchdown interception ratio season, completing, 70, almost 71% of the passes. That is unheard of. So the value for Rodgers, I still think, would be pretty high, even at his advanced age. He's not young by any stretch of the imagination. But I think the trade value for Rodgers would be fairly high. And remember, wherever Rodgers goes, those first-round picks are not going to be early. They're probably going to be in the late 20s or mid-20s at best. So that does reduce the value of the typical first-round pick. So get your votes in for me right now in the comments section. Will the Packers trade Aaron Rodgers before the season? This is the pinned comment on today's live video. So if you get the ad break here on YouTube, scroll on down, get your votes in. It's Y for yes or N for no. Let's talk Saquon Barkley now and the New York Giants as I'm going to go with unexpected report, comment, whatever phrase you want to use here, from the Giants co-owner, Steve Tisch, who says, look, he doesn't know if Saquon Barkley is going to be back in time for Week 1, which really would, frankly, surprise me if in some scenario Barkley was not back in Week 1. Now, by all accounts, at least publicly, Barkley's return from his torn ACL is on track. Things are going in the correct direction. And the typical recovery timeline for especially an athlete of Saquon's caliber is that he'll be good to go in Week 1. The comment from the co-owner, I'm going to view as more of, well, I'm not the doctor, don't ask me about it, but you would think that Barkley would be good to go in Week 1. And it'd be a bit of a red flag for Saquon, fantasy owners everywhere, and of course the Giants themselves, if he weren't ready to go this first game of 2021, especially with the extra time and the recovery he's had from this past year. It was a week 2 injury. It's not like it was week 17 or anything, right? Now, the Barkley that we saw in 2020 was limited because the offensive line was bad. Look, there is absolutely no way around it. The production, especially on the ground from Barkley in 2020, was not particularly impressive. 19 carries, 34 yards. He was very, very much bottled up. 2019, however, I mean, Barkley played fantastic. Like he was a very impressive football player. His 2018 was great as well. He is a very gifted, very talented, very athletic running back. So I think once Barkley gets back healthy, he's going to have a great year. In fact, my expectation for Saquon is that he's going to be good to go in week 1. I know it's only May, and it's injuries and some players recover slower than others, but I would be surprised if Barkley wasn't playing for the Giants and active and starting all that good stuff in week 1. But I do want to hear from you guys, too. What do you think is the % chance that Saquon Barkley plays in week 1? Get your votes in for me in the comments section. Now, if in some weird scenario Barkley can't go, there are some backup options in New York that I wanted to at least briefly mention here. Devontae Booker, who they brought over from kind of Denver and Las Vegas and has bounced around the NFL. I'll put him as RB2 for now. Gary Brightwell as RB3, who was a 6th-round pick out of Arizona, who I don't love that much, but I think could be a decent backup in the NFL. And the other notable name on this list is Corey Clement, who they just signed recently, releasing Jordan Shun in a corresponding move. Clement's offered some special teams value. He's played plenty in Philadelphia. He's nothing special by any stretch of the imagination, but let's say in the what I consider unlikely scenario that, Barkley's not able to go in week 1, maybe Clement and Booker and others are able to hold the fort down for just a couple of weeks if needed for New York. As mentioned, today's show is presented by Manscaped. Head over to manscaped.com/chat. When you use that URL right there, bottom of your screen, and it's in the comments section and the description as well, you'll get 20% off and free shipping on all their products, including the brand new Lawnmower 4.0. It's new and improved. If you don't want to take things too tight down there, they've got multiple length heads, so you can have a little bit of fun down there if you want. And you have some fun as a result if you read between the very obvious lines there. Remember to go over to manscaped.com/chat. Use the promo code chat as well if you want to get that 20% off and free shipping. We're back to talking to Deshaun Watson now, and just bear with me, especially you Dolphins fans. I know you don't like it, but I think you'll like my take on it here. Now, Albert Breer, this morning for Sports Illustrated, I should say Monday morning for Sports Illustrated, says that he thinks at some point Watson will likely be traded. Now, that's not a huge stunner in the end, but the time frame is a complete unknown around Watson and around the Houston Texans. The lawsuits Watson is facing, that is still an ongoing process. The NFL is going to be monitoring. There could be discipline from the NFL. We don't really know what's going to happen there, so it's kind of in a holding pattern of let's wait and see exactly what ends up happening there. Now, if and when Watson ends up being cleared to play, there certainly will be a market for the top-tier quarterback. Now, Breer mentioned and named 3 teams as fits for Deshaun Watson: Carolina and Denver, who he says liked Justin Fields, but still did not draft them. And then he also mentioned the Miami Dolphins. We'll go more in depth on them here in just a second, which I know not all Dolphins fans like, but it's the rumors that are out there. I'm sorry. So what do you guys think will end up happening with Deshaun Watson this year? We can worry about 2022 once it comes. Will Deshaun Watson be traded this season? Get your votes in for me. Type 1 for yes or type in 0 for no. Now, part of the reason why Dolphins fans, and I get it, I agree with you guys, don't want to go to Watson so quickly is because they've invested so much in Tua. And by all accounts, Tua's doing all of the right things in the offseason program. He's developing properly. He's set to have, in theory, a breakout year. I do think year 2 will be a good boost for Tua. I think this is setting up to be his coming out party. He's healthier. The offense is going to be healthier itself. Remember, Tua did not put up great production in 2020. I think we can all agree on that. But I think we often overlook how banged up his supporting cast actually was in 2020. Devontae Parker missed time, others missed time as well. Now you add Jalen Waddle, Will Fuller, a new coaching staff in terms of the play calling. I think Tua will be much improved in 2021. But the reason why I think the Dolphins, if Watson gets clear, which is a big if, have to at least consider him, is that it is Deshaun Watson. It focused solely on the football player right now. We can have a different and very valid conversation on the person later if we want. But I see a guy who, if Tua put up this level of production in 2021, Dolphins fans would be overjoyed. So wouldn't you like to have that in theory guaranteed? I think it's at least somewhat intriguing at that point for Miami. Now, the Dolphins, I do think, are still in a decent position, especially maybe after this year. Maybe Tua struggles. I don't think it's likely, but if he does, the Dolphins have some assets, and they can make a pretty good offer for a Deshaun Watson type of player. They have the first-round pick from San Francisco, a second-round pick this year, and 2 first-round picks in 2022, plus their own second-rounder. In terms of draft capital, it's kind of Miami and probably Philadelphia in that conversation as well, with the teams in the best position. New York as well, forgot about the Giants there, to make a splash if they want to in 2021. But in the end, I don't think a Watson trade right now this year is frankly all that likely. I think at some point, Watson will be playing somewhere other than Houston, either by the team's choice because they want to trade him and get something back for him, or by the NFL's choice if there are the lingering legal issues there. So I know Miami's going to always be linked up until the day and probably beyond the day Tua has his breakout year, because we saw the Browns still get linked as well. But just had to update you guys there on Deshaun Watson. Let's talk Russell Wilson here on Seattle Seahawks today. The restructuring of Russell Wilson, had Seattle done that, it would have silenced all of the trade rumors around him. Now, Seattle did not go that route. I think they have a pretty decent explanation as for why they did not do it. Now, Pete Carroll said the other day that it was discussed with players like Russell Wilson and with Bobby Wagner. In the end, Seattle did not take that path. They chose to keep Wilson at his current contract, which we'll hear in just a second. Here was the explanation from Pete Carroll. Quote, "We have talked about all of that, as we do every year. The money we need to come up with for other contracts, we've done all of that. Know that we've looked at every single option that's out there, even to the point that those guys, meaning Wilson and Wagner, know we've discussed that too. It just hasn't been necessary at this point." Now, the way Wilson's contract is set up, Seattle doesn't even need his permission to take, as most of these contracts are actually worked out, to take his base salary, about $19 million. They could convert up to almost $18 million of that into a signing bonus, which would spread the money over the lifetime of the years left on Wilson's contract, saving $11.95 million in the process, at least up to it, without adding any fake or voidable years there. Now, in general, Seattle prefers to avoid those types of moves. It pushes money into the future, which does at some level reduce the flexibility, although in general, I'm much more in favor of it because salary cap space rolls over. I would rather have $10 million this year with a lower salary cap than $10 million next year on a higher salary cap. It all ends up being the same because if it's not use it or lose it, it does carry over. Now, because Seattle has not redone his deal yet, it at least keeps the door open next year for a trade if Wilson remains unhappy or if Seattle struggles or whatever. So make your predictions for me in the comment section. Will Russell Wilson be a Seattle Seahawk for life? Get your votes in. Type A for yes or type in B for no. Now, this is Russell Wilson's cap hit, just his cap, what he's counting on the salary cap by year. $32 million this year, $37 million next year, and then $39 million in 2023. Now, relative to the salary cap, it's actually not that bad. Seattle could have freed up money this year, brought that 2021 number down, boosted these two numbers up. Instead, they chose to add fake and voidable years to players that they signed, like Gabe Jackson, for example, they did with Benson Mayowa and others, and kept open at least the flexibility from a money-saved perspective, if things go poorly next year, to listen to offers on Russell Wilson. Now, if you get the first 7 games of Russell Wilson's 2020, again, there's no reason to trade him. The guy we saw at the beginning half of the year, more or less, wasn't just an MVP contender. He was among the MVP favorites. He 71.5% through the air, well over 2,000 yards, 26 touchdowns against just 6 interceptions. His adjusted yards per attempt, nerd numbers, but I like them, was almost 9.4. The last 9 games, as defenses adjusted, and frankly, the Seahawks offense didn't do a great job of counter-adjusting, wasn't nearly as good. 66.6, still 2,000 yards, but fewer in 2 more games. 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, it plummeted. More interceptions, fewer touchdowns. Adjusted yards per attempt dropped significantly. In the end, the total season numbers for Russ were still pretty damn good. Completed almost 69% of his passes. Very nice, by the way, for over 4,000 yards, 40 scores. But I think they were hoping for a little bit steadier play down the stretch. I believe the Seahawks offense can make the improvements and have success down the road in the short term and long term. But until they restructure Wilson, I think those rumors, accurate or not, are still going to be hanging around.